Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'll tell you how to find your perfect wife in the Philippines. But why just listen to my advice when you can have the advice of several other expats in the Philippines? We're going to read the question, listen to people's advice, and tell you my personal way of finding the perfect wife in the Philippines. Let's get into it. Before we do that, take a quick second, hit that subscribe button. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers. Our goal, over 85% of the way there. Let's get into it. The question is, hey expats, finally moving to the Philippines on Monday. Any tips on where best to find a wife? Alright, so it takes a lot of cojones to come out and directly ask people how to find a wife. It takes a lot of courage, I would say, especially given the first response. Someone says, is that all why you're going to the Philippines for? How sad. Maybe in the past that would have been like something to look down upon, not some reason to come to the Philippines. But given what's going on in the West with feminism overcorrecting itself, in my opinion, the passport bros, and just some of the standards that women have in Canada, the US, UK, Australia, all these places, I see why men come to the Philippines, because in the Philippines you still have a lot of traditional roles in relationships, a lot more conservative women, and from my experience personally dating Filipinas, I don't see that like the headbutting situation I usually see in the West. So I don't blame this guy for looking for a wife for himself in the Philippines, especially because Philippines speak English. They're religious, so obviously when you have something to guide you in life, it does help, in my opinion, sometimes, not always, because religion can be, let's not get into that. But that was the first comment about how to find a good wife. Someone responds with actual advice saying, these of course are generalizations and there are exceptions. Avoid bars, bar girls. Don't search for one in Cebu City or Manila. Look to the provinces, especially farm girls. As a general rule, avoid OFWs. From what I've seen with friends, their time outside the Philippines made them jaded. Avoid college students as they tend to be busy, often having Filipino boyfriends in school and are just looking for someone to fund their education. Make sure she can communicate effectively in English. Not perfect, but well enough to converse. There's a lot more, but to me, those are some basics. A lot to unpack there, and as he mentioned, some generalizations, but typically some of the stuff that he says I do agree with. I don't really agree with the fact of not being able to find a wife in Cebu or Manila, because firstly, numbers. There's a lot of girls in these cities, population is really high, so naturally your chances increase just by numbers speaking. And not to mention, a lot of the women in Cebu and Manila actually come from nearby barangays, provinces, and smaller towns and cities to the big cities to find a job. So they are deep down actually province girls or farm girls, as he says it. And as far as the school ones, yeah, in a way I understand that, because going to school every day, you're around your peers, your classmates, it's natural to develop feelings for those close to you. So if you're somebody that's dating a college person, make sure you have a clear understanding of your relationship. If you're abroad and you're just sending money, I would highly recommend against that, like unless you want to take it as like an act of charity. I hate to say it, but if you never met the person in the Philippines, it's really difficult for me to classify that as a relationship, just because I've seen so many people throughout doing my interviews tell me some nightmare stories. So a lot of generalizations, but some good points he's made. I personally would not want to find my wife at a bar. Not to say every woman that goes to a bar is not a good woman or wife material, but you're kind of starting off on the wrong foot by just going to a bar. Typically, those women are looking for some money, prostitutions. Bars are much higher, of course. And the Philippines is no different than any other country, but the type of women that frequent these establishments. I'll tell you where to find a perfect wife, in my opinion, later on, but let's go on to the next comment. Take your time. Are there places you want to see and explore? A wife will prevent you from doing that. Go about your daily routine and she'll probably come organically. Make Filipino friends. They might know a girl you might like. Just don't stress it. That's my plan. Excellent point. This is actually going to be my number one advice to you guys, since it goes hand in hand. When you come in here, try to come here for another reason, or at least a secondary reason. Sure, you might want to find a wife eventually. Maybe that's your ultimate goal, but come here to try to explore the Philippines. Come here to try to see the islands, the beautiful beaches, try to get into the culture and the locals, go to the places that you wouldn't regularly see in your home country. And along the way, you'll really have a chance to interact with the locals you have a chance to interact with other travelers, expats. Maybe your wife is not even a Filipina in the Philippines, but she's here from a neighboring country visiting. So you never really know when you're doing these tourist activities, when you're going on excursions, when you're taking part in community events, the festivals like Sinulog, whatever is going on, you're gonna have a chance to meet people organically. I was gonna save this tip till the end, but since this person mentioned it, that would be my advice too. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you guys right now, my ultimate advice would be to go ahead about your day like you would normally, as if you were single. Go do your regular things, go to the gym, go to the cafe, go to the mall. If you're a religious person or just a church goer, go check out the church. When you're volunteering, anything within the barangay community. Several times I've been invited to go to birthday parties in the barangays or somebody having whatever ceremony they have. I've been invited and I've seen so many people that I wouldn't regularly see in my daily routine, right? So sometimes you can go ahead and take part in local activities, maybe join expat groups, not just online, but within the community, because now they have these apps where you can go ahead and meet people that have similar interests, like going hiking, like having a coffee day, maybe watching a movie. And a lot of times meeting somebody through those channels is much more efficient in finding a wife, I would say, because online dating, I might as well tell you guys all my thoughts now before going on to the next advice, but online dating tends to bring out not the best. I'm not saying you cannot find your wife online, but I think your chances reduce a little bit because online gives people, women and men, the chance to go ahead and make other things priority, like getting money from you or trying to get to the US or Canada, or maybe they're trying to scam you through other digital currency investments. Some of these women are not even Filipina. They say they are, but they're not. They just use some random picture online. They're actual organized crime, basically mafia or something within certain groups. They rent out entire buildings and there's complexes. I've come across it while doing my new stuff. So online, you never really know what you're getting. I don't want to say catfishing because that you can just do a video call for that, but there's so many things that's in the way blocking you to access someone that's perfect. And typically, usually in my experience, good women tend to stay offline just because they have options, right? I mean, they don't really, they usually are not looking. I don't know, that's just maybe an exaggeration or generalization, but I'm just saying, like, I've met some great people online, some excellent women, but it's not somewhere I'll go first to look for my wife. Next advice is word to the wise. You do not go looking for a wife. You let the potential wife find you. Make friends first, be yourself. Quit acting desperate. The one you want is the one who accepts you as is. All your faults and flaws. Don't look for beauty in the face, but instead find it in her heart. Things that we usually look for in a wife can't really be measured online, for example, right? If you're just going about your day, doing your stuff like I mentioned earlier, the proper person will show herself. Not even intentionally maybe, but you might start to see some beauty in things that you wouldn't necessarily see by just looking at photos online, right? You can see Filipinos' kindness. You can see the way they interact with the kids maybe. Maybe they show some things that you would not be able to see through just digital photos and videos, right? So I really agree with that advice. Next comment is, renting is cheaper and more efficient. And when you rent, they don't come with family. All right, so let me address that quickly. This person wasn't looking for just a woman to have sex with. They said they're looking for their wife. The advice here is to basically date women in the Philippines. Do not marry them, because once you marry them, they come with family. By now, we all know that Filipinas are very family oriented. When you get into a relationship with a Filipina, a lot of times the family is involved. They might want to come over, they're living close by, and family is really important to the Filipinas. So if that's not important to you and you don't want to get to know her family, if you don't want to basically invest in her family with your time, maybe helping out with some things, it is expected of a man to provide and support her family and her immediate family. Now that's very different than trying to allow someone to take advantage of you, right? So there's a fine line you have to kind of walk in trying to navigate that side of things. But you should be aware, it's no secret by now, whoever has been looking into the Philippines, whoever lives in the Philippines, if someone's been married to a Filipina, the family is very important to them. So if it's something that is out of your standards or norm and you don't want to have anything to do with a family, which I obviously suggest against, because if you're getting married, you want, anyways, that's just a personal opinion. But let her know at the beginning. Let her know you're not standing for certain things. Let her know this is your budget. Perhaps you cannot spend more than a few $1,000s a month. Draw your lines that you will not cross for her family, for example. And if she's okay with it, then you're both on the same page with it. But a lot of times, the women are the breadwinners of the family. They're the ones that go to school, study. They're the ones that get into jobs and try to provide for the families. Many times these women go abroad to work. So if you're kind of stopping her from doing that by taking all her time away, then I think it's right for her to expect you to at least, not to compensate, but to be that breadwinner now for her family since she's no longer that person. Because let's be honest, if you're coming to the Philippines, if you're on like a 2 weeks or 1 month or 1 year kind of time frame, you want to spend that time with your potential wife, right? So you have to kind of balance that fine line of managing her time, her finances, and her family's dependence on her. Now, if it's something that you absolutely cannot tolerate, then be upfront, because there may be some women out there that are just like you, that don't want anything to do with their families, that perhaps they want to go to live in the US, Canada, maybe they want to travel with you, maybe they want to live in a different province and just they're not very close with their family. Very unlikely, but there is people like that, and that's why it's important that you have these standards at the beginning of a relationship before you get into marriage. The next advice is travel around and find an area you like. Once you have determined where you want to live, then look for a wife. As said above, take at least a year in person with a Filipina before you decide to marry. That will allow enough time for any of her bad behaviors to manifest in time for you to determine if her family will see you as an ATM. Also, cover your Jimmy so you don't have unplanned babies. Cover your Jimmy. I think that's the first time I've heard it put that way. Definitely. You want to stay protected in all areas, physically, financially, and emotionally. You don't want to invest in someone that's not emotionally there for you, that doesn't really love you the way you love them. So time is the key here. Do not rush into anything. That is my number one advice for anybody regarding the Philippines. Don't rush into anything, whether it's buying an apartment or renting an apartment in an area for a long-term lease, getting into relationships. Anything you want to do in the Philippines, give it some time. It may be your first time, or maybe it's a new environment for you. You have to see how this plays over time, because as you get to know somebody, you start to see them for who they really are, right? So initially, maybe they were really kind, maybe they cleaned the rooms and whatever, but over time you start to see flaws. I'm not perfect either. Maybe she sees flaws in you and no longer wants to be with you, so it's not fair for you to commit too early for you or for her. Last advice, someone says, okay, firstly, you need to understand you're actually a 5 out of 10, LOL. So if a young 21-year-old is telling you you're handsome, she's lying. Don't find a province girl, in my opinion. Girls in the city who have jobs and don't need your money are better options. If you find a poor girl in province, you will probably be used as an ATM and also feed her full family. A couple of the things that we already talked about, but one thing I would like to say is the whole province girl telling you that you are a handsome man in your 70s or 80s. I think sometimes as men, we have to adjust our egos. In our minds, we still think we look like we did 10 years ago or so. And of course, the women are staying the same age, 21 to 25-year-olds, always gonna be there, right? So we still think we can pull women like that for just our personality or for our looks. But the truth is the Philippines is still a developing country. They have a long way to go ahead of them. They're developing real fast. And some of these women are actually getting money for themselves. They're working. And those that aren't may just want to be accelerated to that level as well. They may just want your money. But I think any grown man should be able to tell very quickly who's interested in you and who's interested in your money alone. So that's why I think, as we mentioned earlier, time is very key. Give yourself some time, come to the Philippines, enjoy everything else, and the woman will come along throughout the process itself. If you rush into things, you most likely regret it in the future. Now, the best places, I would say, as I mentioned earlier, kind of hinted at this, I'm not looking for a wife right now, but if I were to look for a wife, I would just go about my day, right? So I'll go throughout my routine. A lot of time when I sit at cafes, I see some gorgeous women in line. Like if I really wanted to start a relationship, it would be super easy for me personally. I'll just go up and make a stupid joke or ask them where's Starbucks if we're sitting in Starbucks. Something stupid like Filipinas will talk to you. It's not like Western women. They don't have this like egotistic mindset. Oh, don't talk to me, don't approach me. All this like, a hatred towards men. If they don't like you, they'll simply let you know. It's not as bad as it is in the West. So when you have that taken away, that stigma of talking to women is gone, it gives you a lot more confidence to approach women. So let's say that I play soccer, right? So during my games or whatever, some women are watching, anything like that. You simply talk basketball. I play basketball with the kids all the time, and there's women there just walking by, whatever. So, it's just an easy way to give them back. Like, I'm just saying, whatever you're doing, if you're reading a book, ask somebody, oh, what book do you recommend? There are endless ways, but the point is to meet women organically. Meet them in a natural state of your daily routine. because that kind of takes away a lot of the problems when dating online, because they're not looking for you. They're not looking to get money. They're not looking to get support for their education or their family. And you skip the whole middle process of having to wait to meet them because they're just in front of you right there physically. You know, that chemistry, the biology is really important. I don't know what that is, but like that vibe between somebody physically in person is very different than online. How many times have you talked to somebody, but when you met them, they were very different in person, or vice versa? Maybe online they were kind of boring, but in person, you guys totally hit it off. So take your time, come to the Philippines for other reasons, and hopefully you meet your perfect wife along the way. I hope that was really helpful for you guys. I really enjoyed making this video because I agreed and I've been through a lot of these situations, not because I was looking for a wife, but because I've come across other men telling me similar stories and doing my interviews. And I always love talking to Filipino women on the streets. If you guys haven't seen those videos, check out Living Abroad. I have a whole playlist of interviewing women and asking random questions. If you enjoyed this video, help me reach 1,000 subscribers. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, let YouTube know you like this video, and maybe even share this video. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.